All right, let's get this started. So, when you see it like that for $8, you're going to get it, yeah? So this is the 1981 version of the basic rules. Front cover illustrated by Errol Otis, who's a bit of a legend, and interior art includes Otis, Willingham, Dee and Rosloff. The art isn't as polished as later versions of the rule books, but it has a very cool atmosphere to it, and I think in some ways it really kind of captures that early sort of sense where Dungeons and Dragons didn't know really what it was. You've got the recommended reading, the Appendix N, a sort of a basic version of that, which is great. No cover. Damn. Fortunately, you can find the cover online. It's another Errol Otis piece of work, which, again, great. And the same rogues gallery of artists as the basic rules. So this is circa 1981. I don't know the exact printing date. It's a single volume. Actually, the expert set always was a single volume, strangely enough. This included some additional pieces that were later put into the companion set. I think it had the dragon turtle in it, which was, yeah, I mean, obviously the dragon turtle's a bit overkill. The interior art is really, really fun. It's, as I said, Dungeons and Dragons was kind of still finding its feet, and it knew what it was, but it was not as formulaic as it is now. But this is pretty much what I played with as a kid. So this is the interior art from the 1983 basic rulebook. Cover art by Larry Elmore, interior art by Larry Elmore and Jeff Easley. So the original sort of set of pictures that you're seeing here come from the first sort of starter adventure that you played, where you went up against Bargle, the infamous, who became something of a character that was reused. Alina, poor Alina, was killed by Bargle. As I said, Bargle didn't appear, I don't think, until a gazetteer much later, but this is all set, maybe it was retconned, who knows, in the Grand Duchy of Karameikos, which is very human-centric. And anyways, images. So that was a rust monster there that you had to go against. Ugly brute. I think they're kobolds. Anyways, that's the interior art. So the basic rules just had the classes, and you could play demi-humans, which were also a class, which was kind of strange. Like now you have races, or is it? It's not races now, it's species. Don't ask me why. But I would have thought they would be races, because you can have half-elves. I think you can have a half-dwarf. Could you have a half-halflings? Would that be a quarterling? Anyways, yeah, and half orc and half goblin and half drow and half everything. Or, you know, can you have a third of something? Technically, it's possible. Maybe you'd have to do some pretty interesting family tree work. Yeah, the thief, 1d4 hit dice. Just a glass. Yeah, it's just weak as. My favourite was actually the elf, because you could use both magic and martial, and that was really attractive, because you got the best of both worlds, and you could have a real good time playing in that area, whereas the fighter was a bit brutish and the magic user was like the rogue or the thief, just a glass cannon. So not as much fun as the elf. And we are moving on to the Dungeon Master's Guide. We'll be taking a bit of a shot at that, I would say. Now, the Dungeon Master's Guide was really good. It set up the basics of playing the game and the mechanics really, really nicely. And yeah, the basic rules is a really good place to start for a simple role-playing game. I mean, you've got the computer stuff now, which makes it really easy. But if you want to do pen and paper, it could be improved a little bit, like some of the later editions of Thaco or your attack roll and you get a bonus and stuff. That works really well as well. So you're not having to go through tables constantly. But at the same time, this is very simple and very, very fun. Quite addictive. Good to get little kids into. Not to say that little kids can't deal with the new 5e, but it's just a little bit more complicated.
Where's the, I don't know where the Dungeon Master's Guide is. Dum dum dum.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs when you lose a book. This is the expert rule set, cover by Larry Elmore, interior by Larry Elmore and Jeff Easley. I do like Jeff Easley arts as well. His is a little bit more... It's rougher for some reason. It's got a more sort of organic sense to it. Larry Elmore obviously comes from cartoon. He did Snarf Quest and not cartooning, but sort of more a comic sort of feel to it, a sensibility. Whereas Easley's art feels more artish. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, the expert set, I believe, was level 4 to 14. Demi-humans peaked at level 12 because they were a little bit OP, and they were slower advancement because they had the broader range of abilities. This really expanded out on the spells for the magic user. Thieves could use spells. I think they could read scrolls at level 10, and they got some extra stuff, but they were a bit boring still. The demi-humans were great. Yeah, it had things about pets. Yeah, whatever. It expanded out the known world. You kind of got Karamikos, Alfheim, Rockholm in a map, which I haven't shown, of course. It expanded out on the monsters. Devil Swine. Why do they always show weird things? Like they've got pigs and dogs. Like there's more, and bugs. There's more exciting things to show than those, I'm sure. Like, vampires. Yeah, the vampire was great. And the treasures in this, the expanded treasure tables and weapons, and making your own weapons and intelligent weapons and special abilities, really, really fun. You could really make some powerful weapons, and horn of blasting, bit OP that thing. Yeah, so that's the expert set for you.
That's no good. Book 1, book 2.
Cover. Yeah, so another Larry Elmore cover. Interior art again, Larry Elmore and Frank Frazetta. So the companion set was levels 15 to 25. And yeah, D&D basic went to level 36 back in the old days. And then you had the Immortals set, which I'll cover in a bit. But the companion set fleshed out that next step in characters' evolution. Wasn't really heavily used, I don't think, not by myself and my party, but we did get into some of the spells which were useful. It included some new classes. I think it had the Druid class. The Mystic came in the Master set, obviously. But the Druid was a kind of a revamped version of a Cleric, really, which I never really got into Clerics. I always thought they were a little bit on the soft side. And yeah, so we've got obviously expansions with wizard spells, some really meaty wizard spells. And are we talking about also Cleric spells? Maybe. Anyways, teleport object, whatever. Transform and polymorph any object, whatever. Yeah, but the companion set was good, mainly I think because of the monsters that it provided, the expanded monsters, additional treasures, like lots more treasures as well. That was probably the main thing, and the spells. Demi-humans got their attack ranks. Wasn't that good for those guys. I think demi-humans really peaked in the expert set. They got a little bit more in the companion set, and masters they were pretty much neglected. And Immortals, well, I guess they could have become Immortals. And what do we have for the Masters? Book 2. Again, this is the player's guide and the Dungeon Master's guide. So there was sort of expanded bits and pieces in there. They had rules for jousting, tell them they're dreaming. and Warfare. I believe they had sort of wargaming type stuff, and they went into obviously like other dimensions and the like. As I said, treasures were really important, and the monsters. You got the Beholder. You got dolphins. Like, what game is complete without a dolphin? You got more dragons. I think you got the large and the giant, medium and large dragons. Dragon turtle, which had appeared in the earlier expert set, but was absent from the more recent one. And interplanar beings, and as I said, expanded treasure lists, which, yes, always handy. You want to have that variety. And then also they had wrestling, and they had a little adventure at the back about wrestling that dude there. So yes, come adventurer.
Masters.
Yeah, so for me, the highlight of the master set, it wasn't the mystic class that they introduced, but that was kind of fun. It wasn't necessarily the expanded levels for magic users and all the other classes. They had some good spells in there, obviously. For me, I really got into the weapon mastery. That was kind of fun, and introducing that at the lower levels, and having, you know, fighters who had some, if they really focused in one particular area, they could do some really cool stuff with swords or whatever weapon you decided to choose. You could have, you know, throwing your sword or doing some meaty damage, and you could become like a weapon master. It did have some decent monsters. The Athach, which is like a three-armed giant. The Lich. Another, Devil Swine or something, and Neanderthal, whatever. So yeah, it had some decent monsters. Sphinx, yeah, and I don't even know what the hell it is. An Archeron, whatever. And a Phoenix, yeah. Now I'm just commenting on the pictures. I apologise. But yeah, the master set up, I believe they set up artifacts, which I didn't really particularly care for. Like, there was some pretty powerful magical items out there already, and you could make intelligent swords and intelligent items. The artifacts, which were kind of like the Immortals magical items, had all these downsides with them. And so I never really got into them. And now we are actually into the Immortal set, which was, for me, a really big disappointment. It just didn't grab me. I didn't really get sucked into the whole become an immortal god and patron of, like the multiverse, whatever. It was kind of like, you know, that next step up that really wasn't necessary, although it did have some really powerful bad guys in it. Like, these are the monsters. You had a lot of the demons that had appeared in AD&D they brought over, and you probably recognise them, the Gorgon, the Demigorgon, and I don't know, that dude, what is it, Balrog, whatever, and some weird sort of Lovecraftian thing. And then, yeah, the Immortals were kind of in the background there, obviously, because it's the Immortal set, and that weird kind of Lovecraftian thing, some sort of weird mega dragon, and just for the heck of it, the production art
I actually covered. I had the Immortals set, but it was just so rubbish that I got rid of it.